Well, welcome back to the homestead. This episode is a little unusual and a little frustrating for me. So we had a plan and it did not get executed well. So our plan was we were going to get all of our rental equipment, the drum sander and the edger, pick that up on Friday. Friday evening we were going to come out and get everything out of the house and finish up the last little few preps on the floor, getting nails set and everything. And then early Saturday morning we were going to start sanding the floor, and the plan was to get the entire house sanded on Saturday all the way up to a 60 grit, and then skim coat the entire house with wood filler, let that dry overnight, come back on Sunday and do an 80 grit pass on the whole house, and then take the equipment back. That was going to be this weekend, and then the next weekend that I work on it, we were going to do the 100 grit pass, clean everything up, and start staining and sealing. However, we went and picked up the equipment Friday, and we got it out here. Friday night we started doing some of our prep work, getting the floors ready, getting everything out of the house. We didn't get quite as far as we needed to Friday night. Saturday we came back out, we finished getting everything out of the house, getting everything cleaned up, ready to start sanding. And when I got the sander out and went to set it up, the rental company failed to send me 60 grit for the drum sander. So there's nowhere else in town to pick up the sandpaper. The rental company is closed on Saturday. So all that rental equipment and paper that I had got from them is basically useless to me because I don't have the 60 grit, which is one of the main grits. And it's the one that I wanted to start with to see if it was abrasive enough. So we wound up having to go to another town and find a floor sander at a rental place that's open on Saturdays. So we did that. We rented another set of equipment, got different type sandpaper for it. We got it all out here, but it was 6 o'clock in the evening by the time we pulled that off. So I was able to go ahead and do a 36 grit pass on all of the upstairs. So about 1,000 square foot. The whole house is 25. So I've got another 1,500 square foot downstairs that I haven't touched. Now, we're obviously not going to be able to get everything up to a 60 grit, do a skim coat, let that dry, and then do everything up to an 80 coat this weekend because this is already Sunday morning. So the new goal is we're going to try and get everything upstairs done to a 60 grit, take all the equipment downstairs and get the entire downstairs done to a 60 grit, and then call it for the weekend. I'll come back out during the evenings and do a skim coat of wood filler on the entire floor. And then the next weekend that we have to work on it, we'll rent another sander and come out and do the 80 and 100 grit sand before we stain. So it's going to add an extra weekend into the sanding process and push us out a little bit on our timeline, but there's just no way around it. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and switch the drum sander here out from 36 to 60 grit, and then we're going to get started on sanding the upstairs to 60 grit and get the upstairs done. So let's go ahead and get started on that. All right, so we've gotten all of the upstairs drum sanded with 36 and 60 grit, and we've got the skim coat of wood filler put on the whole floor upstairs. So we're downstairs, and we've already done a 36 grit pass with the drum sander downstairs, and we're gonna go ahead and skim coat the downstairs, and then we'll give that a couple hours to dry, and we can start sanding. Now, I've got an orbital sander on hand, and we can start doing orbital sanding upstairs, and then probably give this 2 hours to dry after we finish it, and we're gonna need to do another drum sander on this because it feels pretty good to the hand, but we've started doing some of the skim coat, and we can see where some of the boards are not quite level. So we're gonna need that drum sander to finish out getting those leveled. But the putty kind of helps us see where those areas are as we're going over it with the sander. So let's go ahead and get busy doing the skim coat of wood filler. And that'll probably take us until about noon today to get that done downstairs, and then we'll see where we go from there. We'll either start orbital sanding upstairs, or we'll go get a drum sander and come back and drum sand the downstairs. So the wife's upstairs running the square orbital sander, trying to get the dormers and the little areas that the drum sander won't get to. Now that we've got all of our putty down and it's dried, I'm going to go ahead and start running the drum sander downstairs in the big open areas, and then she'll be coming behind me with the orbital to finish up the edges and stuff. So let's go ahead and get to it. All right, so we're pretty close to being finished with the sanding phase of this project, but what we did was we quit filming a lot of it. One, the equipment's rented, so I'm under a time crunch. Two, whenever you're sanding, there's huge dust clouds, so the filming's not very good anyway. And three, it's kind of boring to watch. So we filmed some of it, but not all of it. But the process we used was we went through the entire house after the wood floor was laid, and we did a 36 grit to cut the boards down to fairly level. And then we went through with a 60 grit on the drum sander to smooth it out a little bit. And once we had done that, we used some wood filler and did a skim coat of wood filler on the entire floor. That fills in all your knot holes and imperfections in the wood. And then we came back with a drum sander and 60 grit again and went over the floor and pulled up all of the wood filler that was excess. And then when you do that, that also shows you if you have any boards that are unlevel to the next board, because you'll have a corner of your intersection there that's filled with wood putty. So you know to go over that until you get your putty cleaned off, and your boards will be level at that point. So we did that, and then after we had cleaned all of that up, we came in with the orbital sander, which is about a 12 by 16 orbital sanding plate, and we did a 60 grit sanding on the entire floor, and then we did a 80 grit on the entire floor. We also used the edger around the sides of the walls because your drum sander won't quite get up to the wall. So say a foot out from the walls, you have to use the edger to feather in what the drum sander can't reach. Then the orbital sander can reach all the way up to the wall and blend in the swirl marks from the edger. So we did that, and then we also took a small palm sander and did all of the corners. And then we took a mouse, palm orbital mouse, which has a kind of a triangular shaped sanding pad, and you use the tip of that to get right up into the corner to get all of the wood putty up. And we've done that now, and we've swept and vacuumed, and the floors are relatively clean right now. Once we did that, we came back with a flashlight and we shined it across the floor at the floor level. And that'll cast any shadows on imperfections that you need to go tidy up on. So if you have a little section where there's some marks from the drum sander or something, it'll cast a shadow right there and you can see it really easily. Where just looking at this blonde floor from up high, you really can't tell that there's an imperfection there. So shine that light across the floor and get your shadows, go take care of any spots that need attention, and then clean up again. So we've done that, and the floors at this point are all finished as far as sanding goes, and we're ready to move into the staining on the next video. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk through and take a couple of quick pictures of the different rooms and show you, and then I think that'll probably wrap up today's video. So let's take a look at what the rooms look like. so that's what the floors look like right now. And like I said, we're getting ready to move into the staining portion of it. So hopefully the next video will be a little more interesting, because these pretty blonde floors are gonna change to a special walnut. And I think it's gonna really make the floors pop. So until then, y'all just keep checking back.